This group has been through every situation imaginable. And, we knew that we just had to keep it tight. We knew we had to get stops. And I felt like for a long period of time we were getting stops and then not getting scores. It just takes a couple breaks to go your way. And, the loose ball that bounced into our hands, I thought even though, I felt like the turning point for us was when AB got the tech, honestly. There was physicality throughout the course of the game. And at that point, that was a composure check. And it was an opportunity right then for us to turn the tide. And our group responded.
Hello and welcome inside a late night edition of Fever Insider Live. Brian Haenchen, Chloe Peterson live from Atlanta here with you. The Indiana Fever come up with a dramatic win, 87-85 over the Atlanta Dream. 7 points over the final, 2 minutes? 5 points over the final minute itself. Just an unbelievable game. Chloe, I'll throw it right to you and just get your opening thoughts on tonight's proceedings.
First of all, I was reading the comments. Sorry we're late about this. I am not getting on a plane right now, but I'm getting on a plane to go back to Indianapolis tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I'm getting on a plane to go to Vegas. I already booked it.
That was the holdup tonight, folks. We apologize.
Yeah. And then I was also watching the Aces Storm game, which had a very similar finish to Fever Dream. But it was a wild game. It was me and Alexa Philippou sitting up together, and we were just sitting there, and we were like, what is going to happen here today? But I think really it just showed how much the Fever have come since last year and even since the beginning of this year. Like, these were all moments that kind of all accumulated in maybe AB wouldn't have gotten that shot if it was a year ago, or maybe Lexi wouldn't have gotten that steal if it was a year ago. But it was really just a culmination of a bunch of little things, as I guess Kelsey Mitchell alluded to after the Game 1 loss on last Sunday. It was a culmination of little things that happened that built them up, kept them in the game for the entire game, and then allowed them to lead in the final 7 seconds that mattered.
I mean, where do you want to start when breaking this thing down? I mean, there's so many different avenues to go, be it the finish, be it, just the way the team continues to respond to adversity, some of the comments after the game about Stephanie White. I mean, you tell us where to go here, Chloe.
I guess we can start with the final 7 seconds.
That sounds great. Go ahead and get us started, and I'll throw us to some audio.
Well, started with what seemed to be a broken play that broke down. I don't know if they knew what they were doing for a while in that play. But Kelsey Mitchell tried to pass it to Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston almost lost it. Kelsey Mitchell corralled it again. And that was when Bree Jones, an Atlanta center, she fell, which I thought was very, very much a part of how this play worked out. Bree Jones fell. Kelsey threw it to Odyssey Sims, and because Bree Jones was falling, she wasn't able to guard Aaliyah Boston. Odyssey Sims noticed that, threw it to AB, and then AB got that layup. And I think that kind of took the wind out of Atlanta's sails a lot. And I know, and then the next play obviously was them guarding for their lives, literally. And Lexi Hull said post-game that assistant coach Austin Kelly, he drew up a play that they thought Atlanta was going to run in that possession. And Stephanie White also said post-game that they wanted to force a timeout or they wanted Atlanta to force a timeout to avoid a 5-second violation so the Fever could figure out what they were trying to do. And that's exactly what they did. Bree Turner had such great defense on Ryan Howard, who was trying to inbound, and just the other defense was stifling enough that Howard had to call for a timeout. And then the Fever also figured out, what play they were trying to run. And it was obviously a play where they wanted to get to Bree Jones under the basket for an easy layup. But because they kind of knew what they wanted to do, and they were able to defend it. And then Lexi Hull said post game, she saw the bounce and she saw the opportunity and she took it. And that was just, I think, that was what sealed the game, I think, is Lexi Hull's steal. She obviously threw it to AB, who threw it to Odyssey Sims. Thought they were going to run the clock out, but, Atlanta had one last gasp. Odyssey Sims free throw made it a 2-point game, and then Bree Jones tried to have an off-balance three-pointer. It was obviously not the play they wanted to, the final play they wanted to run, but Bree Jones couldn't get open in the paint, so she came out to three-point line. Aaliyah Boston had some really good defense on her. She couldn't get a balanced shot off, and it fell. And then now the Fever are in the semifinals for the first time in 10 years.
Before we bring on Tony East here, I've got a couple audio clips. First of all, Stephanie White's explanation of that final clip, and then some of the stuff that Chloe alluded to with her one-on-one or her interview with Lexi Hull.
I think on the offensive end, it was. Do I call a timeout? Do I call a timeout? Do I call a timeout? But we had him in rotation. We had him scrambling, and the hustle play for Kels to be able to keep the ball alive, and then to be able to see AB, loose was huge, and then the finish, and then defensively, the activity level to come down. We had some ideas of what we thought they might do. I thought that getting, them forcing them into the timeout was big for us. We needed to make sure we either got a 5-second call or force them into a timeout. We did. That gave us a look at some of their alignments to anticipate what might come next. And, I don't know what happened in the last however many seconds. When O had the ball, I thought she dribbled it out. So after that, I didn't see anything.
It's just insane that we're playing in the semifinals. I think we believed it, but there's so many people out there that didn't. And so we got another series. We decided to play some more games at Gainbridge, but right now we're just proud and excited and looking forward to the next step.
You guys didn't lead in the second half until that last basket. What were you saying to each other to just remind each other that the game was still within reach, even though you were down?
Yeah, I mean, especially in playoffs, you're never out of it until the final buzzer. So for us, it was just continuing to do what we needed to do, continuing to follow our schemes, get good shots, try to just get looks that we want versus what they're forcing us into. So it really was just take every possession as it comes.
Can you take us through that final steal you had with 7 seconds left?
Yeah, so AK, our assistant, kind of drew up a play he thought they'd run, and it was really close to what they ended up running. And especially with such a short amount of time on the clock, we knew they were going to try to get it into Bree Jones, and just saw the ball bounce, and it was my opportunity. I was helping off of the corner, and at that point I was like, there's not enough time, let's try to run the clock out. So tried to give it up so we'd run around and have them chase us. But I mean, it was just, we were all so locked in for that last possession. And then afterwards, the bench just so hyped, so excited, and just a really happy moment, to be honest.
There you have it. Lexi Hull, Stephanie White talking about that last sequence. And with that, we welcome in Tony East with us for another show. We get to do a lot more of these, Tony, which is exciting, right?
Yay. And Tony gets to cover the Pacers starting.
I get the first overlap in October of my life. I've had Pacers Fever overlap before, but never backwards. Yeah, what a way for it to happen, right? I don't know about you guys, but I thought when Howard hit the 3 to put the Dream up 5, the Fever had scored enough that their offense wasn't dead, but it felt like in a home crowd environment, that little burst of 5 after the Fever tied it up was going to be really tough for them to overcome. And I know you guys have already run through the ending, as did Lexi Hall. So thank you, Lexi. I thought it might be done at that point. So look, who am I to say that, right? Story of their season, that every time there's this obstacle in front of them, they're like, whatever. Okay. We'll just get right over that one.
Yeah. I mean, it is insane.
I mean, I will say, I didn't think the Fever were going to win this series. I know Tony didn't. I don't think any of us thought the Fever were going to win this series. But as you mentioned, Tony, they just know what to do when their backs are against the wall for 2 straight games, 2 straight elimination games that they've won.
And unlike every other game this series, I mean, the start was so different from the past 2 games where both teams were shooting the ball well. It had good rhythm. It had good pace. And it kind of maintained that for a lot of the game. It felt like I kind of blacked out there for chunks of it. But, I mean, that was a very different game from the other ones. And, Tony, you pointed out on Twitter a couple times, I mean, the defense was pretty bad at the beginning. But then late in the game, with the game on the line, they really bowed their necks and did a good job of slowing down the Dream.
The Dream finally were playing like how I mean, some of it helps when you finally put the threes into the basket, like, yeah, things look a little better when that happens finally for them. And it didn't even happen that much, but it did early. It felt like early in the game, and throughout it, especially if they had 27 in that first quarter, they got Bree Jones like involved in every play, or Alicia Gray in every play, and they could just get it side to side or get a good look out of it. And it helped that Naz Hillman was hitting. It helped that Jordan Canada looked spectacular in this game. I thought if the Fever had lost, that would have been my lead takeaway, was Jordan Canada just crushed them. They could not keep her out of the paint. But as the game went on, they just got, a little better, keeping Hillman out of the paint, a little better, making Ryan Howard uncomfortable. She didn't have a comfortable night at all until she hit that three late in the game, right? Gray was in foul trouble. They finally were able to start targeting her. Like, it all just kind of was like incremental improvements at a lot of stuff that they stunk at defensively early and were like good enough, I would say, defensively by the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, what really changed the scope of the game was the early foul trouble for Atlanta. I think it was Naz Hillman, Alicia Gray, Bree Jones. They all had 2 fouls after the first quarter. And that, I mean, first of all, forced them to not be as aggressive as they wanted to be. It gave Indiana a ton more foul shots than Atlanta at the end of the day. And, like, by the third or fourth quarter, Bree Jones had 4 fouls. Alicia Gray had 5 fouls. They really had to be cautious in playing because they didn't want to foul out. And that, I think, really helped that the Fever took advantage, I think, of Atlanta's physicality in a way. Yeah, it was 22 personal fouls to 14 and, 24 free throw attempts to 11. Like, I think that's a big part of the game, too.
And the Fever converted, the first 7 tonight, I think, building out that streak of 15 that they had in game 1. It was 5 or 7. Either way, it was a healthy number of makes that they had before they started missing. So, I mean, those are free points. And then they went into a little bit of a lull, then they picked it up there at the end of the game. And that was big, too, and, when the margins fare so thin.
Can I tell you the stat that I think is the most important stat of this game?
Please.
Yeah.
6 turnovers for the Fever in this
true.
one, because this whole series and the lead up to it, a big part of what makes Atlanta very good. They led the league in rebound percentage this year, right? They are so focused on the glass, the possession battle, keeping themselves analytically friendly with extra chances over their opponent. And they, even in this game, they won the rebounding battle by 5, right? That's one of the things they want to get. And they shot well, like 50% from the field plus that. They should feel great about that, but they don't even win the possession battle by that much. The Fever take 3 more shots and more free throw attempts because they had 7 fewer turnovers. They did a great job taking care of the ball in this game. And in a game like this, where you're not hitting your threes well at all, you're not particularly potent on offense, but good enough, that was a huge factor, I thought, for the Fever in being able to just consistently have output on offense in this game.
6 turnovers, by the way, tied for the second lowest total of the season for the Fever. They had 6 against Washington there on September 7th. They had 4 against the Los Angeles Sparks back on August 5th.
Jeez.
Yeah. I was going to say something else about box score, but I don't remember anymore. Oh, I remember now. Atlanta has not shot well from 3 either of the past 2 games. Like, I think with Carl Smesco's system, the 5-out system, they kind of rely a lot on, 3-pointers, and to shoot 26% from 3-point range tonight. And I don't remember what it was. I think it was 5 of 19, but 3 of them were in garbage time on Tuesday. Like, that's really something they relied on for most of the regular season that just wasn't falling for whatever reason these 2 games.
Really, the whole series. I think their 3-point percentage after they missed their first 5 in the first quarter they were 12 for 46 at that point. So they were 6 for 18 the rest of the way. Like, it's not that much better. They weren't like the craziest accuracy team. I want to say they were 6th or 7th or something in 3-point percentage this year, but you're nailed it. They take a bunch. And it's not, you look at the roster, like Ryan Howard's a great shooter, Alicia Gray can shoot, but it's not like a cast of characters that I would say has historically been this lights out shooting group in the W. So the fact that these players who are okay shooters all shot bad isn't crazy, but it happened 3 games in a row, right? And that was a big thing for the Fever, who did not shoot well themselves, but actually shot a better percentage at 6 for 22. You'll take it.
Just barely.
An inflection point in the game, according to Stephanie White, and kind of an unexpected one, if I'm being honest, was the Aaliyah Boston technical there in the third quarter, where it looked like, I think it's fair to say, maybe she lost her head a little bit. She flings down, who was it?
Bree Jones.
Bree Jones. Their arms get tangled up. Personal foul's called. The whistle's blown, and as the whistle's blown, Aaliyah Boston forcefully wrangles herself free, and in doing so, throws down the other player. Everybody kind of converges on Aaliyah Boston, except for Kelsey Mitchell, who can be seen in the background dribbling a basketball, just kind of chilling out.
I will just say that reminded me, I don't know if you guys have seen the photo of like Diana Taurasi just like in the middle of what was a fight. I think it was between Phoenix and Las Vegas. Everyone was fighting, and she was just standing there going like,
I'm going to try and find that photo now. I'll put it on the screen.
Can we talk about the biggest thing that happened from that play? That's not, I mean, okay, so Stephanie White's point was from like a tenacity, focus,
absolutely,
togetherness, and she's right, to be clear. I'm not saying she's wrong. I just want to add something to this. That changed the game for them. And like Aaliyah Boston had like snarl and pop and all these, you know, sportsisms for the rest of the game that like really mattered in a battle against someone who's not like been her perfect kryptonite, but pretty close for her whole career. So that was a rallying cry for her. I thought she was, like, to be clear, foul on Bree Jones. I thought Aaliyah Boston was fine to rip her off, dude. Like, she's about to rip her shoulder out of her socket in that play. The tech is fine. It was a little over the top. Anyway, good sequence for the Fever. They were stuck close the rest of the game. Big moment because it would have been tied at 86 if Ryan Howard just made the free throw, and she missed. She has been a terrible free throw shooter in the series, and that's not like a thing for her. Like that one point in the game that was 86-85 with 7 seconds to go. Huge play. So Boston gets off scot-free, no punishment, and it helped the Fever in a huge way.
God damn, that's a good call. I honestly, I was riding on the technical itself, so I wasn't paying attention. I completely missed that she missed the free throw. Great job. That's a great call, Tony. That's a good pull.
I mean, Atlanta too, like they missed like 7 free throws. It was kind of crazy. I always think
whole series,
or they missed 6, but
still,
like
that's a lot.
I always think, you know, you need to make your free throws as a professional basketball team. Like it's literally a free throw, especially at home too. Like they weren't trying to, you know, distract her or anything, and she just missed it. I remember that too. It was just make your free throws. It's my thought.
It's a good take. It's a strong take. That's a great take, Chloe. We're killing it here. This is great. I enjoyed this. Or Tony, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree.
Both
teams made all their free throws. The Fever still win. So
yeah, I like this from Kelsey Mitchell talking about today. I'm not sure entirely what the question was, but basically she talks about the team's mentality coming into this game.
I think it started the day we left to come here, mentally, and then after that, you go through your scout, you get what you need, you recover, and I think down the stretch of our shoot around, we kind of like, we were happy, we enjoyed where we were grateful for where we were, and I think after shoot around, kind of like put in perspective that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime moment, and you just want to seize it as much as possible. I think you could take it for granted, but I won't, and I don't think our group did either.
Pretty cool moment for her and Natasha Howard too, the 3 people up there, I guess, to be the ones to help get the Fever to this point. It was pretty special and pretty impactful and pretty meaningful. Chloe, I know you're going to write more on Natasha Howard at some point during this semifinal series against Las Vegas, but that's the talking point that I'm going to let everybody bounce off of.
Yeah, I mean, Natasha Howard and Stephanie White, I believe Brianne January also, were all part of the team, the 2015 team that last made the semifinals in some way. Natasha Howard was playing, Bree January was playing, and Steph White was the head coach. So, I mean, I asked Natasha and Steph about that, and, you know, Natasha seems, you know, she wanted to come back to Indiana and a way to circle back, finish what she started in a sense, because she only spent 2 years with the Fever before she was traded out the first time. And I think they brought her in to be that veteran voice, obviously. And Steph White talked very highly of Natasha during after that question of how Natasha Howard, she has been that consistent voice, that veteran voice that the Fever have really needed. And, you know, the voice that the Fever were kind of missing last year, in a sense of just not having that person that had the playoff experience. I remember we talked Howard before the playoffs, before the first round. And she was just like, well, it's another game. I don't think too much of the playoffs. Which she's been in the playoffs 11 of her 12 seasons. And I think that just shows, not that she doesn't care, obviously, but that, she's used to this and she is going to be that consistent. She's not going to be nervous like maybe these, Aaliyah Boston's in her second year in the playoffs, Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, they've all only had one playoff experience prior to this. But Natasha Howard she's done it, 12 or 11 times now. So she is the person that can just be that calming voice.
That was kind of the thought process, or at least the line of thinking that I had going into the season. Like I remember preseason media day, just looking at everybody that they added, getting caught up to speed, and it's very obvious that there was also concerted effort to kind of add some of that winning pedigree, some of that winning experience of players who've been there before, Chloe, to your point. And now you see why they keep those players around, why they added those bodies, because it's just so important to have players who know what it's like to play on this stage, what it takes to win at this time of year, because that's not something you can replicate in practice. It's not something you can really simulate at any point or just read a book or a pamphlet and be ready to go. It's something you have to gain. It's kind of like trial by fire, so to speak. You learn it by doing. And if you can have people in there who've done it before in their careers, it can potentially accelerate that process. Like I shudder to think where the Fever would be if they didn't have those veteran players. They might not even be here playing for the playoffs because they had to win some big games down the stretch. And Chloe mentioned it after game 2, just the learning process and the curve and the progress of turning around a franchise and where the Fever are at in that. And it feels like maybe they're starting to move ahead of the curve a little bit with just how they performed in winning this series and what might be ahead here at a best of 5.
I asked that at practice this week to Howard because I already forgot that because so much happened this season. I forgive them for it, but you're right to bring that up. So much of the premise of their summer was obviously skills that fit their team, but I think every player they added had been in the finals before, right, Chloe? Every single one at some point when their career either made it or won it before. They clearly wanted veteran leadership. We're very intentional about it. And Howard, obviously multi-time champ. What'd you say? 11 out of 12 playoffs. That matters. And I even forget that when a game like this is happening and Howard's not having the best night. And she's had great games this season. They win the Commissioner's Cup on her back. But in this game, they're like, yes, Bree Turner is a better choice. We're playing Bree Turner. Shout out to Bree Turner, by the way. Excellent game. Yeah. And then it's dang, Howard's been a little up and down sometimes. And then post game happens, and I'm like, oh yeah, the point of Howard isn't just the good games. It's that stuff. It's the I've done so much more than most of you have from an accomplishment standpoint. Here's what this takes. And that's why her perspective about what that game meant was very refreshing and important for them. And you can tell they totally hear what she says. Kelsey Mitchell was nodding along while she's talking off to the side and talking about it. So, even if you're not the perfect player, that's why they wanted vets for this young team, and they are certainly paying off right now. Not only in the locker room, but they're winning. They're going to the second round.
Bree Turner, by the way, brilliant again. Just phenomenal this series. Excellent tonight. Awesome. And Stephanie White talked about it after that Connecticut game. That was kind of the turning point for her where she'd gotten squeezed out of the rotation in the front court. A lot of bench time, stay ready. One thing to say it, another thing to do it. Bree Turner did it. Wintertime came, she was ready to step up, and she was excellent in that Connecticut series and played such a key role in the team's ability to salvage what was a potentially disastrous situation. Because you remember going into Connecticut, you find yourselves down 20 on the heels of a bad loss against, who was it, Dallas at home, right? Or Washington, one of the two butt asses. And then, sorry, I'm tired. The filter's gone. But Bree Turner played such a big role in turning that thing around and to see her commitment pay off. And you can tell that it's very meaningful to Stephanie White and the players too. As Stephanie White's talking about the impact that Bree Turner's had and crediting her with persevering in her fourth season, Kelsey Mitchell's there verbalizing, she was awesome. She's awesome. I agree. It just speaks to that chemistry we mentioned before and just, how much they respect one another and the hard work paying off. There was some good thoughts in there, I think. Chloe.
Her only shot tied the game with that big putback at 80 right before the stretch that we all admitted we thought was the game. But so it was kind of a forgotten shot. But it was her only shot attempt, big offensive rebound to do that. And at the same point I made last game, the best Griner defender they had by far. If Griner was guarded by Natasha Howard or anyone else when Turner was on the floor, the Dream were get her the ball right now. Everybody move. We're doing this. She's going to score. And it worked every time unless Turner was down there fighting former teammates. She knew just enough about how to slow her down. And then, like, you win a game by 2 or you're up 1 with 5 seconds to go. Like, every little thing like that mattered. And that was her biggest impact to me in this game and series.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about this following either Sunday or Tuesday's game. Like, obviously she's not the big focal point on offense, but she's so good defensively. And then she does enough on offense. You know, she can set screens. She can open up the floor for everybody else that, you know, she's not the focal point. She's not going to score a lot per game, but she is good enough on offense that, you know, it makes it worth having her great defense on the floor because she can also help offensively, even if it's not necessarily scoring.
Absolutely. Anything else you guys want to get to? I figure we can wrap it up with the Stephanie White, the Kelsey Mitchell, and Natasha Howard talking about her impacts. But anything you guys want to get to game-wise before we get to that and what's ahead?
Can we rapid fire bullet point through like 5 things that were great that aren't long enough to talk about?
Yeah,
Odyssey Sims Dimes, great passing game from O in a game that they really needed that. We talked about that a lot this series. Aerial Powers just breaking out 2 random pull-up middies in the middle of this game and just drilling both of them out of nowhere. Again, every play was huge in this game. Shea Petty hit a huge 3. Everybody did something. Everybody on the bench scored. Their bench was like, this whole series. It was fun to see everybody step up.
I would also like to point out the quote Kelsey had after Tuesday's game where it was something along the lines of somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. And it will be a really hard game, and someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. It was really great analysis, and I really love that quote. And that is my closing thought.
Are we going to Aces, or are we doing more from this one?
We got one more thing. We have the Coach White thing. Then we'll talk about the Aces wild game in Seattle where the lights went off maybe a little early.
Yes.
Then we'll get to that. And then if you have questions, comments, it's already 1 in the morning. What the heck? Throw some of those in there too, and we'll get to what we can.
I've had 5 coaches in 8 years. I've been on, the worst, record teams here in Indiana Fever. So I know where my career started at. I know what I've kind of had to go through to kind of be in this position. I've never had a coach that poured into me respectfully like Steph has. I go where I'm valued, and I've never really felt that as a pro. And so for the first time in my career, I really feel like I have someone that values what I bring to the table as a player and a person. Not just a player, but as a person. So I always love Steph because she gave me an opportunity to kind of be who I am. And it's hard to do that and be that as a professional athlete. And when you find coaches that believe in you, I'll never take it for granted. So thank you, Coach.
For me, I'm just grateful to be able to get back to Indiana and be able to be next to the coach that coached me my second year in the league, and just her believing in me, trusting in me to lead this team. It's a lot of weight on my shoulder, but hey, I've been through it before. I can do it.
Yeah.
And just she does an amazing job for every person, just not just me and Kelsey, but every single person on the team that she believes in, and she pours into every single person. It doesn't matter how you play, with how many minutes you're gonna get. She's gonna tell you be ready at all times. Go out there and do your part. And if you, like that's one thing I love about Steph, how she believes in every single person. She trusts us no matter what.
So you hear a lot about chemistry, and everybody talks about it. Especially when things are going well. That's what you hear about. Everybody likes each other, but I think with the Fever, you don't go through what they went through with the injuries and all that if the chemistry isn't real, if the respect and the love for the coach isn't genuine and real. Because if it's bullshit, I think the wheels fall off pretty quickly, especially, when they mount. Like I look at the Connecticut game. It's a perfect example where you're down 20. You watch another player go down with a traumatic knee injury. Like if you're not tightly bonded, you don't respect the coach, like things fall apart really quickly there. And I don't think Stephanie White got enough credit during the season for keeping things together. But I think now, as this team did what they did tonight, did what they did to get into the playoffs, I think people are kind of starting to take notice of that more. And she's finally starting to get her flowers, which I think have been well-deserved, throughout most of the season.
I agree, and I think it's something Lexi Hull talked about sometime during the playoffs. I can't remember specifically when we talked to her, but she talked about how, comparing last year's playoff run to this year's, I think before the playoffs started, she said this team is a lot closer compared to last year's just because of all of the injuries that they've had. They've obviously had 5 season-ending injuries, which is basically unheard of, and obviously including one to their star player, and then to another starter too. Like you have to be close as a team to be able to get through that, be able to continue to have, I guess, like a will to win and a belief that you're going to win. And I think that's something Stephanie White really helped to foster. And I think the veterans too, and the injured players really helped to foster as the season went on.
To steal a Miles Turner quote from the Pacers platform, it's another power of friendship ass team, man. Like that stuff really matters in these kind of games. And the Stephanie White quote that kind of like hammered it home to me tonight was, you guys might have played it before I got on, was when she said that like all those little plays was everybody doing it. It wasn't like one or two players stepping up into that kind of moment. It was everybody. And that's super like important context to add to it, is that's kind of been their whole season. They need a win in LA against the Sparks. Odyssey Sims' best game of the season. Connecticut, Bree Turner, right? We could go on. And Commissioner's Cup title game, Natasha Howard. Obviously, Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston have been rock solid, all-star, all-W level all season. But that is what makes it possible, is that they don't have like not trying nights from anybody. You know, they might have bad games, and that leads to Aerial Powers pumping up the whole team in game 2 and big moments from everybody in game 3 and all the stuff I've already said. That is a coaching win. To get the team to play like that and be like that is such a connectivity, chemistry kind of thing. And they believe in each other. And I think that Kelsey Mitchell's We All We Got or whatever it was really resonated with everybody. And look at that. They're in the Final Four. Yes, exactly right, Bree Turner. Bree Turner has a great Twitter feed. Thank you, Bree Turner.
One more too here. Caitlin Clark as well. More relevant one to the discussion as well. But yeah, fun stuff. Let's talk about what happened there in Las Vegas tonight. Because goodness gracious, it looked like for a minute there,
Chloe's same thing.
Chloe's well mapped out travel plans for Las Vegas were going to be blown up by Seattle, which scores to take the lead with 7.8 seconds left. Vegas comes down, hits a shot, takes the lead with 3 seconds left.
Yeah, Asia Wilson uncharacteristically missed multiple shots in the final minute and a half. So I thought the Seattle was going to pull it out, and then the Fever were going to host the first and second game if that happened. Imagine the number 6 seed hosting.
Imagine. I remember I said it to you when we walked out of their last practice. I was like, Chloe, they're going to be so happy if they get the 6 seed. They have a 5% chance of hosting the second round. Oh my gosh, we were a second away.
They also turned off the lights in celebration, I think, before the ball was dead.
You guys think
I was very confused about that.
I think the shot was late, but it was so close that I cannot believe they did that. That is unbelievable.
I thought the shot might have gone in when the lights went out. I had it off on the corner over here without the sound on because I was writing, but I watched that play and I thought maybe it went in. I was like, oh my God. Kind of wish you did just for the drama. I think that would have been fun.
The band is out on the field, man. It's that level of moment. It was really wild. You're right. The Asia misses were crazy, especially because Jackie had to get that second one. I mean, they were good shots too. She'd been making
Jackie Young saved
the
them.
whole second half, and then missed 2 perfectly Asia Wilson shots in the final 25 seconds.
Yeah, Jackie Young, the Indiana Miss Basketball, delivered in the clutch for Las Vegas, which again lived right on the razor's edge there in the final seconds of regulation.
Yeah, I thought they would have known it would have been the Fever because I would think at halftime the Fever would be done by then, but Asia Wilson had a really funny reaction post game to the broadcast, to the sideline reporter telling her it was the Fever. So go look that up.
What could you just give us a quick synopsis here?
She basically the broadcaster, I don't know her name. She was like, "Oh, so you're gonna go play the Fever on Sunday?" And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Fever.
It was the facial reaction that made it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. A lot of Indy. Skylar Diggins hitting the 3 for the first Storm lead in the final minute. Jackie Young responding, and that sideline reporter Vanessa Richardson, who went to UIndy, I believe, who worked for the Houston Rockets. So, yeah, a lot of Indy. And Erica Wheeler, a former Fever player, hitting one big shot and almost a second one. Oh, it was so close. What was it going to be? That's what I wondered. Is it the Erica Wheeler versus Fever series or the Nalissa Smith versus Fever series? We were going with B. Yes, there it is.
Chloe,
I will say, Nalissa Smith basically revitalized the Aces, I will say.
She's been awesome.
props to her for, I mean, I guess she didn't find the place. Props to the Dallas Wings for finding her a place where she's thriving. So
that sets the stage here as we pivot to what's ahead. Indiana Fever versus Las Vegas Aces. Let me get rid of the ticker here so we can see what the schedule looks like. This is what the schedule looks like. Game 1, Sunday, 3 p.m. on ABC. Game 2, 9:30 start on ESPN. And then Game 3 would be back here in Indy at a time to be determined on Friday night. I'm assuming that they would probably get the later slot.
Well, they get the earlier ET slot because they'd be. Oh, I guess it depends on if it's New York or Phoenix.
If it's Phoenix, they're definitely the early game.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. And then Sunday, they'll get the 3 p.m. slot back on ABC. Tuesday, all TBD for Game 5. For both of you guys, we'll do something. We'll do a deeper dive. I don't know, Chloe, we can talk about this offline, but just general opening thoughts on Fever Aces. Chloe, why don't you get started?
Well, I have a thought in which I was wrong on Tuesday. Caitlin Clark is not eligible to play for the rest of the playoffs no matter what. I thought she was. I mean, I didn't think she was going to play either way because she said she was out for the season. But she is not eligible to play even if she could, even if she wanted to at this point, because the Fever, much like other professional leagues, have to submit an active roster ahead of the playoffs, and that active roster cannot be changed once the playoffs start, obviously. So Caitlin Clark, along with the 4 other players that are not, or that have season-ending injuries, is not on the active roster for the playoffs. So she is not eligible to return at any point during the postseason. I was incorrect about that, and I apologize.
Weren't we all?
Yeah.
I did not know that either. An important distinction, by the way, because I got asked about this a lot too leading up to this game. Shout out to Chloe for being in Atlanta and getting all the details for us. People were like, the Fever announced that she was out for the year. Is it possible she comes back? No. Hold on. Caitlin Clark announced that Caitlin Clark is out for the year, which is actually a very important distinction that matters a lot in this instance. Caitlin said she's not playing. I don't think she's playing. As for the Aces, speaking of really good players, the best one is on their team. She had 38 points in this game 3. We could talk about kryptonite players for Aaliyah Boston like we did against the Dream a lot. Asia's everybody's kryptonite. Like, it's not even fair to call her kryptonite. She's just so, even when the Fever kicked the Aces ass in that game in July, Asia was amazing, right? So that's where the series starts, is like, can you do anything to slow her down? Because the Aces have now adjusted their lineup and it works really well, and they've won 18 of their last 19 games or something. If you can't stop Asia, every game's going to be, you got to find a way to score a lot of points, because the Aces are going to also score a lot of points.
I think it's one of those types of teams where you wonder, like, do you just let Asia do what she does and try to limit everybody else?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's kind of one of those things where,
I'd argue that's what the Storm did tonight, and they did okay.
Yeah, like, as you mentioned, the Fever beat the Aces and Asia was still great. Obviously, Asia had 38 points and they barely beat, the Storm tonight. So it's like, maybe you just let Asia get her bag and then try to limit everybody else. But I guess we'll see.
That'll be a fun one. Looking forward to that. Anything else you guys want to get to as we get to a couple questions and go to bed?
No, I did change my flight, so I don't have to leave for 2 hours later.
Yes, Chloe.
Oh, well, hell.
Are you even coming home?
Oh, yeah, I'm coming back to Indy tomorrow because I already booked that flight, and I also did not pack. So I packed for 1 day's worth of travel. So I'm coming back to Indy tomorrow, and then I'm leaving for Las Vegas on Saturday.
Yes.
What time do you fly out on Saturday, by the way?
What the people are tuned in for? I want to know this. So
10:30.
10:30. Are you going down to Vegas, Tone?
I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, aren't the Pacers starting up soon?
Yeah, they start Friday. So I actually could have fit it in technically, but I bodily cannot.
You and I can road trip down there if this thing goes 5.
I could go to. I think I could go to Game 5.
Yeah, we can road trip it again because I don't know if I'll be able to afford travel through the company. So I'll just
if they were playing Seattle, we all would have been at Game 1 and 2.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
No, I got nothing else.
Okay, I guess this post game wrong one. Chloe, another wrong one. What a game, Chloe! Thank you so much for your coverage. You're the perfect combination on measured and journalistic mayhem. I've
Yeah.
read all year. You're amazing.
I feel
Second,
like the journalistic mayhem comes from my Twitter, where sometimes I just get petty about things. And
That's what it's all about.
we fully endorse everything that Adam Palooka said there. Well said, sir.
I replied to 3 of those stock investor bots during this game. We're all on our journalistic mayhem era right now.
I kept seeing those pop up my For You feed.
They're crazy, man.
Tony's
They're everywhere.
Great group of ladies that came together to overcome adversity. This is a great series. That was a relatively fun series to cover, kind of. Okay.
I think from a coverage perspective, what made it fun is something or someone new or was great every game that made it, a new story beyond just like, yeah, Kelsey and Leah are awesome. Like, shout out to other players that came along.
I mean, even game 1 was interesting in the way in which the Fever lost. I mean, it's kind of a boring game itself. The officiating was weird. That was obviously a storyline, but just, the way that it unfolded was weird. And then you contrast that with game 3. They're the share of the WNBA. Never think they're done. They love to see a comeback coming. You a big share guy, Tony?
I believe in life after love, so yes. Yes, I guess so.
Atlanta played not well in the last 90 seconds. That might be the understatement of the night.
Do you have like a sad trombone noise we can put up with a picture of Ryan Howard for the last 90 seconds? She played a fine game until the end. She was very bad at the end of the game.
Chloe?
I mean, I agree. They just made multiple, I don't know, defensive blunders at the end of the game.
Oh, did Chloe, what did you think of the Carl Smesko begging for a timeout and not getting a turnover?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was a big, I don't know. I mean, it was kind of, I don't know.
How the heck does that happen?
Yeah,
like,
that was my thought.
How do you let that? How does an official allow that to happen? How are you not at least aware of the possibility? Right, like you have to keep a side eye on that.
He said post game he was like jumping up and down too. Like it I haven't seen him jump ever. Like one would think that would be fairly.
He's like the most calm and collected coach I've ever seen on the sidelines.
I'm surprised that was not more visible. And then the Dream were like they weren't disorganized; they were just kind of standing on the perimeter and they threw it away. Like that was a huge moment.
Yeah, that was bad on the officials' part, but when have the officials been?
Their first era of the series, right? Yeah.
They're so good up until that point.
Yeah.
It's so unexpected when you hear about these WNBA official blunders, occasionally, so rare, and it pops up and you're like, wow. By the way, because I'm looking at it right now, but the Minnesota Lynx getting that Defensive Player of the Year video. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
adorable.
Yeah, really cool. Our parents called in from
Australia.
Australia, and had her tearing up, had me choking up a little bit. It's very beautiful and wonderful.
Former Fever center Alana Smith.
I was about to say that.
A carbon copy of her mom, by the way, if you watch the video. I've never seen Alana Smith's mom till that video. The genes went straight down. It is the same person.
That's fantastic.
That was one of those classic the Fever traded away someone who ended up being really good. That happened a lot in, I feel like, the early 2020s, but
if you've only seen the video and want to laugh, go to the Lynx Twitter feed and find their graphic that clearly was supposed to just say Defensive Player of the Year, and they had to add like a different font co before it.
Well, the Aces didn't add co. They were just
did not. Drama.
Defensive Player of the Year. But anyway.
It's very in line for the WNBA in this season. Anything else you want to get to, Chloe? Let's just I think we all want to go to bed, so I'll just ask you for a number rating of the Summer I Turned Pretty finale on a scale of 1 to 10.
I will give it an 8 because obviously Belly and Conrad, spoilers, Belly and Conrad ended up together, but the ending was also like super rushed. They got together and then it was done 2 minutes later. But also we're getting a movie, so it's all forgiven.
Yes.
Again.
I'm so happy for you.
That's exciting.
I am so happy.
I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah, we're getting a movie.
A bad friend.
So exciting.
It's great. So when there's a WNBA, if and when there is a lockout, Chloe will be able to fly out to Los Angeles where they're filming the show.
And they film it in South Carolina or North Carolina. I can't remember.
Oh, that's an easy drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All righty. So Chloe and I are going to discuss offline what our show plan will look like. But at the very least, I believe we will have Tony back with us for the second round post-game shows. Fever have games Sunday. They have the game Tuesday night late, and then they're back home for games 3 and 4, or game 3 and then 4 if necessary. We thank you all so much for staying up with us on this late night. Check out IndyStar.com for all of our coverage. Find Tony's stuff. He'll tweet out links on Twitter. And then, Tony, the website?
The next.com, yes.
The next.com. Good stuff, everybody. Thank you again. Have a good night.